Hi everybody, my name is Alex McKinnon. Ken asked me to put together a couple of slides to talk about what I've been doing and share it with somebody else, or share it in the hopes that it would be helpful to somebody else. So, by way of background, I'm in the Super Trader program and I've been to Ken's longer term systems class and the swing trading class, but I haven't been to the day trading class. So it's a little bit odd because what I've been doing is practicing day trading using the RLCO format, or framework rather, um, pretty much using 3-minute bars. It's a classic example of trying to learn to swim by just jumping into the deep end of the pool and floundering around. That being said, it's still a low risk idea, unlike the pool analogy, because it's all just paper trading. And so I decided to see what I could do. Before I get into the charts and what the trades have been looking like for me, um, I wanted to talk a little bit about my beliefs and how my beliefs changed, because I think that's sort of the why of it, and that's probably the more important part. If somebody gets the why and then decides to do some paper trading, their how will probably be pretty similar to mine. I would think it's the why that pushed me over the edge and really made the big difference for me. Everything else sort of followed from that. So before I started paper trading, I wasn't that interested in paper trading. I thought a mistake equaled not following your rules, and so if you wanted to get a system that you could trade, you would just list your beliefs, get a bunch of rules that fit those beliefs, and then you could validate the set of rules by backtesting. I was very interested in backtesting. Then once the rules have been validated by the backtesting, all you had to do was follow your rules and you win. You should be trading a winning system. So this approach to trading is what I'm, at least for this conversation, calling a knowledge-based activity. It's the idea you can get the right set of rules, and yeah, you maybe have to manage your beliefs and whatever, or adjust the rules to fit your beliefs, but you get the right set of rules, learn how to manage, either change the rules to fit your beliefs or change your beliefs to fit the rules, and you should be good to go, right? So my perspective kind of changed regarding paper trading, and so I wanted to do a lot of backtesting before and really no paper trading, or very minimal paper trading. And a bunch of things sort of all came together. So there's this book called The First 20 Hours by Josh Kaufman. In there he quotes another study of a pottery teacher who split his class in two. The first half of the class, he said he was only going to grade by how many pots they made over the course of the semester. And the second half of the class, they only had to make one pot, but he was going to grade it on how good it was. Long story short, when the end of the term rolled around, all the best pots in the class had come from the first half of the class. The people who'd been making lots of pots, even though they hadn't even had an incentive to make a good pot, they had somehow acquired the ability to make a nice pot, or some of them anyway. Whereas the people who were only supposed to make one really nice pot, they spent their time reading books and the history of pots and trying to figure out what design elements were important, but they had no ability to execute it at the end of the semester, and all their pots were terrible. So that was in the back of my head. Another thing that happened is I went to a workshop at the Van Tharp Institute. The room was full of super traders, and some of them were very serious, real traders who worked for hedge funds and things like that, and had a lot of experience backtesting. And we got into this big discussion about backtesting. And as we went around the room, every person who had real heavy-duty experience, I don't have permission to give anyone's names out, but all the people in the room I respected the most, they all, to a single person, said backtesting, they'd done lots and lots of backtesting, and in their opinion, the backtesting was worthless. And it was all the people who didn't have a lot of experience who were just rabid about doing lots of backtesting. that didn't really mesh with my beliefs at the time, so I didn't really know what to make of it, and I was kind of trying to make these excuses. At the same time, Kim Anderson, I saw her presentation at VTI on what she'd been doing in SuperTrader 2 and was impressed with that, and had heard she was doing a lot on the SuperTrader, on a simulator, and so that was very helpful. And actually, Kim deserves credit for the Forex Tester 2. I had come across it, but ruled it out because I thought it could only do Forex, but that's wrong. You can load equity and ETF data into it, and it was Kim that figured that out, and then I learned that through somebody else, and it's very handy that way. I've read lots of books on the acquisition of expert performance, and they all focus on things like simulators, like learning, like a flight simulator or other things that are simulated learning tools. None of them mention anything that approximates backtesting. I have a serial entrepreneur friend who was just all over me saying, backtesting, that's not going to help you. You need to do it, and you need to start doing it as fast as you can. And so he was pushing me to paper trade. But again, that didn't make it didn't mesh with my beliefs. So I was reluctant to do that. And then I was taking this other person's video course it was teaching trading, and I didn't end up really thinking his system seemed to work with my beliefs, but he had this one great little polemic he went on about how people come to him because he holds himself out as a teacher, and they say, look, I put on all this work and I spent all this money and my trading isn't profitable and it's just not fair. And he basically said, look, fair doesn't have anything to do with it. Fair, it doesn't have to do with anything about whether it's fair. It has to do with how good you are as a trader, and you get paid for being good, not for other things. And that made a light bulb go on in my head, and that what he was describing was trading as being a skill-based activity, not a knowledge-based activity. So it's not like studying for a test in college. It's like learning to play the piano or learning to play golf. And that somehow clicked with me. I played music when I was a kid for a long time, so I know how to acquire something that's a skill. And somehow all of that meshed together in my head, and I decided to think, well, what if that's right? What if the people back at VTI who were all saying, the other students who were all saying backtesting is useless, what if that's just right? And so what if I could just bypass the backtesting and learn by paper trading? And wouldn't that be interesting? So this is a screenshot. It's not the whole screen. There's lots of other doodads on the screen in Forex Tester 2 if you want them. But this is the market action part. So this is 3-minute bars, the VIX. It's from February 2nd. I think of this year is the market day. The vertical orange lines are the beginning and end of the market day. And then interestingly, the 3 vertical blue bars right in the middle, that's where I stopped practicing and took the weekend off. So everything to the left is a Friday and everything to the right is a Monday. And then what I use, I put B's and S's for buy and sell on here because it does mark it when you make a trade, and it puts a little line, but it's very small, so I didn't know if you'd be able to see it on the screen. But so B is for buy, S is for sell. And that's not really what's most important. What's most important is I'm using circles like this to indicate where I saw an RLCO, a regression line crossover. And I'm using squares like this one, or rectangles, to indicate one that I didn't see at the time. In fact, these two over here I didn't even see until I went to make the slide. And so I didn't even see them when I did my review of the day. The green boxes are just my own notes from that I made when I sort of trade one trading day's worth in the simulator, and then I go back and mark it up and make notes to myself and do a sort of brief self-critique. So what happened is I was not profitable for about the first 600 trades. And then for another 200 trades from about 600 to 800, I was break even. And then something really clicked between, say, 800 and 900 trades. A lot of light bulbs started to go on, and I started to be able to execute against a set of rules that I wanted to follow. And I started being profitable, and the nature of my equity curve changed. Lots of things all changed. And this is kind of an in-between slide. So this isn't very much right at the very beginning. It's more in the middle. And so you can see, here, I bought here, sold this. I sold this here, which is good, and then bought it back here. So that's like a good job on that one. That's kind of what I was trying to do. Missed this one, but here I got out with a scratch, right? I could have maybe done better with the exit, but it wasn't a loss. This one, I'm late getting in, so I make a little profit. But then you take the weekend off and the skill is just gone again, and I'm doing everything backwards. Like, why on earth am I buying here? I should have been selling here, not buying here, and instead then I buy up here. That's not what I was trying to do. I'm trying to not take these trades that count on momentum. I'm trying to take these mean reversion trades, and so I should have sold here, and then I could have bought somewhere in here. And it's just backwards all day. So there's this frustration to the paper trading, right? I mean, it's hard to be not profitable for 600 trades, even if it's just paper trading. And that's one of the points Kaufman makes in his book, is that the most frustrating part about acquiring new skills is you're going to be absolutely terrible at them for a period at the beginning. And the easiest way, or the fastest way, to acquire new skills is just to reconcile yourself to that and bite the bullet and say, I don't care. I realize I don't know how to do this yet, and I'm going to suck at it, and I'm just going to keep doing it. People tend to get discouraged and give up, but he's like, that's not the point. He's like, if it's genuinely an entirely new skill for you, there's no way around it. You're going to be bad at it to begin with, but you'll also get better at it if you practice. So this is a little more contemporary in terms of where I'm at now. So you'll notice right off the colors changed. That's one of the things I did. I noticed that I wasn't seeing, once I was in a position with the black coloring like this, I could stock an entry fine, but once I had a position on, I didn't see the lines that I wanted to see. I didn't see the crossovers I was looking for. I didn't see the things I was using as my exit rule. So it wasn't a matter of beliefs, because I didn't see it. It wasn't like I saw it and then said, well, I don't want to follow my rule. I just didn't see it until the trade went to heck, and then I was like, wait a minute, where was my crossover, or my line crossing my other line that I wanted to see? And I'd look, and sure enough, there it was, but it was 6 bars back and I hadn't seen it. So I decided it had something to do with my submodalities, and I did a lot of iterations changing the colors around on the screen until I have no idea why this set of colors works and this set of colors doesn't work, and I'm sure it's idiosyncratic to me, but what I do know from practice is with these set of colors, I see the things, I'm much more likely to see the things I want to see when I want to see them. And so that's an advance just by itself. And then it turns out you can mimic this same color scheme in TradeStation, so that's fine. And so this is the triple Qs instead of the VIX, but it's 3-minute bars, and this is May 28th from, I think, 2014. That's the market day, and you'll see, so the black lines are now where my stop was. So I bought here, stop here, I moved my stop up after 3 bars, and then moved it up again here, and then I had an exit put in advance, and so it took the exit, so I sold here. So that's a big improvement, right? So that's about a 1.5 R trade. Here I moved my stop to break even. I could have gotten out here, but I moved my stop, so this one I got a scratch trade instead of a loss. here, bought here with the stop down here. Again, only kept the stop low for 3 bars, moved the stop up, sold here. So, that's about a 1R. This, I moved the stop after 2 bars, so I got a scratch trade when it reversed. Instead of this would have been a 1R loss in another 2 bars, another 6 minutes, and it would have turned from a scratch into a 1R loss. And same thing here. This one, I'm finding out, like, if you can't get the entry right, you don't get a chance really to practice the exit. And so my exits aren't as solid as I'd like them to be, but I'm happy with getting the entry lined up so that I can get a chance to practice the exit. It's like when I played music as a kid, you were always better at the beginning of the song than at the end of the song, because you'd start at the beginning of the song and kind of go until you messed up, and then you'd start over at the beginning. So you needed to practice the beginning 50 times in order to practice the end of the song 15 times, or you didn't get to really practice the end of the song until you got good at the beginning. So a lot of things have changed. My position sizing outlook has changed. I had a position sizing scheme in place at the beginning, and now now I would say that position sizing scheme really wasn't going to help me, wouldn't have helped me in real trading, and I've got something much more reasonable for a real position sizing trade. I'm sorry that this cut off the prices, but this should be probably around 10 or 20 cents. One of these little dotted line boxes is usually 4 or 5 cents or something like that on this. So you get an idea. And then the purple, the green is just my own notes that I made to myself at the end of the day. So from doing all this, my beliefs ended up changing, not intentionally, but they just did. So now my observation is that 95% of what's going on in your head is unconscious or subconscious. So the idea that you could just list out your beliefs about a trading system and then form a set of rules and then expect that to work. I mean, of course you would start with that as a starting point, but you shouldn't expect that to work if 95% of your beliefs are subconscious. Then regardless of whatever your beliefs in the system, whatever your beliefs are, you're not going to be able to trade it unless, or I don't think I'm going to be able to trade it unless I can find a way to make it work with my submodalities. The fastest way to take a rule set and see what beliefs you may have that don't work with that rule set and how your submodalities interact with the way you're trying to implement that rule set is to trade it, I think. So backtesting it isn't going to tell you either of those things, but trading it would. And then if you combine that with the fact that you can paper trade. Paper trading is great because it turns it into a low risk idea. Paper trading isn't the same as live trading, but live trading isn't a low risk idea, especially if you're an inexperienced trader or if you have a system that you haven't traded before. And so my outlook, like I mentioned before, has changed. That trading is this skill-based activity. My goal is to get better as a trader, not to find a better set of rules. And it's totally different. And it's much more empowering because as I see myself get better, I become more and more confident of my ability to trade successfully, which is great. And the other thing is I just have to get good enough to be able to trade profitably with real money, and then I can get paid to get better. And that's sort of the goal I'm working toward now. So anyway, that's all I had to say. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure there's somebody listening who's ahead of me on the curve and has good advice. All right. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.